Hi, my name is Mike. I'm one of the senior education consultants here at the Profs, as well as a tutor in maths, physics, and computer science. Although I am trying to expand my tutoring experience to other subjects within STEM. Speaking of STEM, in this video, I'm looking at how we actually get work experience in STEM, which is particularly important if you're an undergraduate and you're already thinking about maybe getting a career after you finish your degree, or even just going into further research experience after you've done everything. It's something that's very, very easy to ignore. I remember when I was an undergraduate, I was very lucky in this regard. I did a lot of tutoring just because there were a lot of experiences within the university that I could get. But I remember our career services people at the time being really, really heavy on this. In saying that you need to think early about what you want to do. And if I had gone back in time myself, I probably would have followed these top tips that I'm going to be suggesting today in terms of how we really develop that experience in applying for jobs in STEM, if I was to go down that route. But my first top tip actually in that regard is have a look at placements and internships. It's really, really good if you can do that earlier in the year rather than later. In fact, for some of the most competitive companies, and it doesn't even have to be something in relation to science, it could be working with a bank, it could be working with a firm in finance, or it could be working with a particular company abroad. There's quite a lot of internships that would set their applications maybe as early as September or October of, I guess, the year that you start. In that sense, let's say that you've already got your grades, you've already found out you're going to uni, well done. But use that as an opportunity to think then, if you really want to think ahead of the game, okay, what work experiences am I going to get? And it could be that you might end up going to a careers fair at your university where some of these companies are there to be able to meet you, and then you can discuss in person. And basically, this is my CV. Good to have an up-to-date one. I know you don't need to do necessarily that to get into uni, but as a matter of practice, it's good to really spend time updating this whenever you can. Develop a LinkedIn profile, maybe to sort of build on this, which is really, really important. Showing all of your strengths and all of the places that you've been previously, if you've had any previous experience sort of with a work experience already at school, and try to get onto an internship every summer. That would be the ideal goal, so that it does give you a bit of flexibility of whether you want to go down a more academic route or more of an industrial route. But certainly with science and engineering and technology and mathematics, being so hands-on in their applications, it's only going to benefit your application to have it there, not necessarily deter from your overall academic profile. My next top tip for this one is try to engage in extracurricular activities in mathematics. I know in many universities in the UK that this can be quite a difficult thing to do. It used to be within high school and secondary school, you could take the UK Maths Challenge, you could try to go for Olympiads, you've got stuff running there. And that's great. It builds on your profile more. There are still things that you could do though as a university student that is prominent. So I know, for instance, if you're in the US and you're hoping to build on your sort of STEM experience, you might want to consider going in for the Putnam. That requires a lot of training. You might be collaborating with people on very, very closely knit problems together. It's one of the toughest, say, mathematics competitions in the world. Not necessarily the toughest. I think the toughest one, I think, is in China, actually, with similarly questions on there that are almost postgraduate level. But getting some competition experience is really, really good, because for a professional profile, you want to show that you are somewhat independent. You can rely on your own sort of foundations whenever you go into a job. There's a lot of transferable skills that can already be taken. It's better if you're in some kind of a team project of some sort. There might be some projects that you're doing as part of your degree that can help with this, but there are still going to be some hackathons that are going to be great to sort of collaborate with as a team. Anything to do with computer programming or coding, again, a very transferable thing for lots of different jobs these days, given that technology is the way of the future, is that you are working, very, very closely in a team of other people, working on sort of things like these. That kind of leads into my next tip, really, is make sure you document all of your projects. And a way that I get a lot of my students to do this is actually get them onto GitHub. So GitHub is a really, really good place to be able to document all of your coding experience. You don't have to go into writing a cover letter or writing in your CV or writing in a personal statement that you did a project on this and this and this and this and this. And then you'd be thinking, oh, I don't have a lot of space. And in reality, you might just be skirting over the surface of what employers are looking for. What is even better than that is you already provide maybe one or two choices of projects that you really want to highlight, and a GitHub which actually lets people see your code, see how you go through an algorithm, see how you document things, and technically make a record of your findings. And then talking about applications of those things are great as well to do. Speaking of documenting your findings in relation to work experience, this is an extra bonus tip. Please try to make sure that when you're working with the company, you try to keep a record of your performance metrics as honestly as possible. These are going to be really important for you to be able to say that your actions had results. I already used two really keywords there, action and result. The STAR method, as cheesy as it is a really good thing to go back to whenever you're talking about work experiences. That situation, where were you in what capacity? Task, maybe what was your role, what were you doing? Action, what did you do in response to that task? And the result, say, how did that benefit you or the company? I tend to add an extra T in there to make the word start. That last T for transition. How does that help you now? So the really, really key reason that we do, say, STEM internships, or we build on the work experiences, is to build on those transferable skills without us having to state them exactly. But you always want to be thinking about the work I've done in STEM before. How am I going to continue sort of with the things that I've learned and the skills that I developed? Or has that inspired me to do something else in the future? Or is that affecting what I'm doing now? Or has that inspired me to take maybe a course in C++ because I'm a little bit underdeveloped in my programming languages, so I want to learn more? So it's always really, really good to continue the story wherever necessary. Do be really, really sort of self-aware about what you're doing, not totally self-critical, but introspective enough to actually see the merit of actually what you're going for. Now, my next top tip is that if you are struggling to get work experience, although that should be your number one thing to do, is actually try to look for volunteering experiences instead. And there's lots of different local organizations that you can get involved with to be able to sort of bridge the gap here. So for instance, maybe you can go down to your local school, local secondary school, see whether they're in need of any sort of mathematics tutors. I used to do this as a way to be able to build on sort of my STEM experience and say that I can work with younger kids as well, basically working with kids of age 12 or 13. But if you're in a busy city like London, for instance, maybe contact the National Science Museum. Bring your CV with them. It's a bit old-fashioned, but bring your CV or send them over your CV. Say you would like to be able to get some voluntary work or voluntary experience, sort of helping out with the museum, but maybe working in this particular area of the museum. If they have any places, that would be fantastic if they could send you further information in terms of how you can contribute. The worst that you can really basically do is not try. It's perfectly okay when you're doing this to be able to get plenty of no's, as long as you get that one yes somewhere. It's very reflective on real life when it comes to finding jobs. You are going to get more rejections than you will succeed. It's very different to the world of university applications. But when you are contacting these organizations, even though if it's voluntary, you want to be putting your best foot forward. Like with a personal statement, you want to be saying in a cover letter, you're really passionate about this particular subject. You want to go into this profession. You're studying at this university. In order to build on your experience, you feel you would greatly benefit yourself as well as the organization if you put yourself forward for this position, or whether there's a voluntary opportunity that you can actually make a huge benefit of. So the worst you can do is not try at all. So make sure that you're already sort of thinking job focused the moment you are already starting university. So my next tip on these top tips on how to get work experience in STEM is try to get into some passion projects of your own. You don't necessarily need to be with an organization in order to show that you've had some interest in the subject outside of your studies. That can actually transfer into a job or into further research. So for instance, there's lots of different sort of independent projects that are suggested on like Freelancer and Upwork for you to be able to engage with, which is really, really useful. I've also seen a lot of adverts recently for mathematicians who basically are asked to construct answers for questions to help AI train to do better with answering questions. That's actually a really, really difficult thing that ChatGPT at the moment is, as amazing as it is all round, struggles with, quite deeply, actually. And saying that, we actually have a video in relation to this on like the state of AI and how it affects higher education. You can find that on the screen right now. But that is something that we talk about there as well. So it's worth taking a look. But definitely take some initiative, with these things, and then try to develop that so that you have some kind of an application. Obviously, with some really hands-on things like biology and chemistry where you need a laboratory, it's going to be a little bit difficult to perhaps like get access. Maybe have a look at sort of online simulations or like virtual sort of internships where you might be able to practice those things. If you're an astrophysicist, have you got your own telescope? Could you run your own observation of maybe like, say, a particular constellation or an exoplanet? Like, for instance, with a telescope that you have, or are you in contact with like, so the Liverpool telescope at La Palma, Tenerife, for instance? What have you done outside of your studies to really show your passion? That's really what we're looking for. And if you're already writing that as an independent project, that's certainly going to transfer very, very nicely into the world of work and is going to help you greatly, whether you will work in industry or whether you will become a researcher. My final top tip in this video is make sure you network. And I remember being really, really introspective when I started, not introspective, introverted even, when I started university, believe it or not. I was very, very shy. I found it very, very difficult to make new friends and actually connect with different people. Turns out at university, people were lovelier than I thought, really. And I think the more people that you meet and the more experiences you share, the easier it is to make connections. Because as much as I'd like to say that getting work experience is just based on meritocracy, it's also much more realistically based on who you know and what opportunities are presented to you. So if you make an effort to do that earlier on in your degree, in terms of meeting new people, trying to find common interests together, doesn't necessarily even have to be within the sciences, it could be outside of it, it will open doors for you in terms of opportunities in things that you do want to do. So really, the best way of actually approaching that is, try to look optimistically at your time at university. Some people might think you're not there to make friends. Actually, when it comes to your professional development, you are there to make friends, because it's those friends that are going to help you get into the world of work or sort of the world of research. Don't underestimate it when it comes to your applications. But I mean, I could go on. It's a really extensive topic. We haven't got enough time in this video, unfortunately, to talk about everything. But if you personally liked what you've seen and heard in this video, please give this a thumbs up, like and subscribe. And also send these to your friends if you think that this video is going to benefit them as well. But if you have any other ideas of other avenues that you can take in terms of finding work experiences, there's so many out there. We'd love to hear more from you. Maybe start a little bit of an academic discussion within the thread of this video. But if you would like the help of a consultant or a tutor, in sort of developing your portfolio, maybe to get onto a postgraduate course, or even just to help you prepare to get into the world of work, then we at the Profs can definitely help you with that. There should be information on screen right now that you can follow. You can get in contact with us and we can put you with someone who is an expert in their field knows what they're doing, and can give you the best advice to maximize your overall professional and academic profile. But until we hear from you, we hope you're doing well. Best of luck with your future studies and your future career plans. And we hope to hear from you soon. Take care.